So we're recording the session so people who are not here can see what we're doing today. If you came in a little bit late, we're just writing some things on the screen here because we want to see how much you know about the structure of sentences, okay? And we just talked about how simple sentences means there's one subject-verb pair, and compound sentences means there's two or more subject-verb pairs. Okay, so we've got answers up here for all of these. Let's one together. So I want to start with this, looking at a structure. If I have a sentence and it's got two subjects and then two verbs, two conjugated verbs, is this sentence going to be simple or compound? And it's a simple sentence. Okay, can you explain why, Sammy? Why did you say it's simple?
I can't.
I don't know why. Is it because of English or what?
Because it is a one sentence and a simple sentence have one subject and verb pair.
It has one pair. But when we say pair, does that mean there's only one subject and one verb?
Oh, yes.
Well, there could be three subjects and one verb, or there could be one subject and two verbs.
Mm-hmm.
When I say a pair, it doesn't necessarily mean one subject and one verb, but what I mean when I say a pair is that if you're looking on the screen, look where I'm pointing, all the subjects are on the left side and all the verbs are on the right side. So what this is meaning is all the subjects are doing actions.
Yes.
We don't have one subject doing one thing and another subject doing another thing. All the subjects are connected to all of the actions or all the verbs. That creates one pair. So the answer here is correct. This is a simple sentence because there's only one pair, meaning all of these subjects is one part and all of these verbs is one. So together this is one pair. And in just a moment, I'll show you an example of what a sentence looks like. It has two subjects and two verbs, but it's simple, okay? So good job, Sammy. We've got a simple sentence structure here. Let's go to number 2. And let's see, is Gerardo, I believe. Gerardo, what did you put? Why did you put compound?
I put a compound because it's a subject and a verb from one side, and I think it should be like a comma in the subject and a verb for the other side, doing a complete role.
Yes, that's right. Sentence will probably have a comma and one of our fanboys we talked about, the coordinating conjunctions. Yes, if we make a sentence in this structure, there's going to be something that will divide these subject-verb pairs, maybe comma and or comma but, right? And the reason is because we have to separate these pairs. So if you see in this one, there's a subject and a verb. This subject does this action. But we have another subject on the right side and then another verb. Do you guys see the difference between number 1 and 2? They both have two subjects and two verbs, but there's a different sequence or order of them. Okay, so this number is creating a compound sentence with one pair on the left and one pair on the right, okay? This is two pairs. Okay, if anybody has a question about this structure and why one is simple and two is compound, just let me know. Okay, so some of you work better with this type of structure. I know for some of my people, you guys might be more mathematically inclined or visually. You learn visually, so I want to show you what it looks like in a structure way, but I also want to give you examples. So down here in the bottom, we're going to see examples of number one, an example of number two. So we've got A and B, two different sentences, okay? A is one sentence. Why? Because there's one period. And B is one sentence because there's one period, okay? So when we're looking at these, which one of these, A or B, goes with structure one? Gerardo, can you tell me? Which one of A or B is going to be structure one, the simple sentence with two subjects and two verbs? Can you tell, Gerardo?
I'm sorry. Letter A. I have my microphone blocked. I'm sorry.
Oh. You were talking, but nobody.
Yeah.
No, I've done this before. It's very embarrassing. It's so embarrassing. Yes. So letter A coincides with number one up here.
Yes, letter A, I guess.
And letter B is an example of number two. So if you want to see what SSVV looks like, come down to A. We're going to have two subjects, friends and I, and then we're going to have two conjugated verbs, go and exercise. Both of these are conjugated. How do I know they're conjugated? Well, there's no to. Remember we talked about to go, to help. That's an infinitive. We don't have a to before exercise, so we know that exercise is going to be conjugated. How do I also know these are conjugated verbs? Let's change the subject. What if I said she, on weekends, she goes, I'd have to say goes, to lunch and exercises. I would put an S over here also. So class, this sentence has two subjects and then two verbs, but it is still simple. It's a simple sentence because it has all the subjects on the left and all the verbs on the right side. Okay. Any questions about letter A?
No for
What
me.
about B, teacher?
What about B?
Yeah, I'm confusing.
Yeah, we're getting to B next. Okay. So let's go to B. On weekends, my friends and I go out, and one of us always pays for the food. Okay. Now, the first thing I notice is this pays has a S. That's conjugated. And I also have this go out. That one does not have a S. So that's kind of interesting, right? That probably means I've got two different subject-verb pairs, but let's look at it closer. So who or what is doing the action? Well, my friends and I are doing this action, go out. So yeah, we've got two subjects here, friends and I. Actually, so for number two, that would be like SSV. Yeah, it's got X, and then it has a conjugated verb. Okay, and then what does it have on the right side?
it has another. Oh,
Yeah, go ahead, Alan. What do you think?
Oh, it wasn't me. It was Gerardo, I
Oh,
think.
oh. Gerardo, what does it have on the right side?
okay. It's another subject and another verb. It's
Yeah.
one in pace. And the
Mm-hmm.
and the fanboys is in the end.
Fanboys is and. That's correct. Okay. So let's look again. Who goes out? Who goes out? We've got two people, the friends, and we've got I. So that's two subjects and one verb. My friends and I go out. Okay. Then we have one of us. This is a one person. Okay. This is actually the subject. It's like he or she. It's one person. That's why we have the S on pays. Okay. So one is the subject and pays. So here we have subject and then a verb. Okay, class? So this is creating a compound sentence. This is creating a compound sentence, okay? Let me type this in here. So compound sentences, when we talked about one way to make them, we need to put a comma and then a coordinating conjunction, or we can call them fanboys. So class, this sentence needs a comma right here before the and. Okay, it's kind of hard to see it, but I put it there. So
Yes,
on weekends, my friends and I go out, comma, and one of us always pays for the food. So
yes,
now it's a good compound sentence. Yes. Question?
yes, yes, teacher. I have a question. What what kind of function is doing this comma on after on weekends? Is a comma. What function is doing?
Okay, what is the reason for it? For this one here, I'm putting an arrow on. This makes it compound. This is a good compound sentence now. This comma over here, these two right here, they're called tag commas, okay? In English, we have 4 different comma rules or 4 different reasons we need a comma. To make a compound sentence, that's one use of a comma. Another use or another reason for a comma is what we call the tag. And this is when we have a sentence that starts with a prepositional phrase. Remember we talked about prepositions like on, at, in, and then a noun, weekends. So when we have a prepositional phrase at the beginning of a sentence, we usually put a comma after that. And this is a signal that, hey guys, I'm about to give you my subject. So pay attention. And guess what? The next one is the subject. My friends is a subject. I is a subject. Okay? So that's the reason for this first comma. It's just called tag. And let me just write it here. Tag, comma. Yes, and hopefully soon we'll get to a part where we can go over more of the comma rules, okay? Good question there. Anybody else have a question about what I put up here?
No, teacher. No for me.
Okay, so you were kind of confused about B. Do you understand B now?
Yeah, teacher.
Okay, good. And when you take a step back and look at this screen, you're thinking, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know there was so much, to talk about with sentences." If you look at this, yes, you can see there's a reason for everything. There's a reason for every comma. There's a reason for where we put subjects and verbs. We have so much variety that we can do in sentences. And that's what we're learning in this level 1, right? We're learning how to form correct sentences, but also to do a variety of different kinds of sentences, right? We can make some of our sentences simple and some of them compound. And I appreciate you guys, those of you who turned in your homework last Friday, you wrote some examples of simple and compound. And most of you did very well with that, okay? Some of you still need some more practice. So today is a good time to ask questions if you're still confused about how to make these two types of sentences. Okay? Any questions here before we go to page 226 in our book?
No, teacher.
Everybody good? Okay. All right, let's go to page 226 and let's check our homework. So this warm-up was really good for us because in your book, page 226, practice 1, you guys were supposed to tell if these sentences were simple or compound. So how do we know the difference? We're going to practice doing what we did at this warm-up. We're going to look for the subject and verb pairs. If all of the subjects, if I can draw a line down the middle and all my subjects are on the left and all my verbs are on the right, that's going to be simple. Okay? That's going to be simple. But if I have subject and verb and then another subject and verb, it will be compound. Okay? So I'm going to clear this whiteboard screen so we can write some answers if we need to on the whiteboard here. Okay, so practice 1 on page 226. Let's start with, let's see who I've got here. Okay, Lucia, do you have number 1 on page 226?
Yes, teacher. My brother gave me a Fitbit device and encouraged me to exercise more. Simple sentence. I wrote simple sentence.
Okay, good. Lucia, how many subjects and how many verbs does this have?
My brother gave me 2 subjects. The first one is brother. And me, other subject.
Me cannot be a subject because me is always an object. That's the difference between me and I. Okay? Me is always what we call an object. It comes after the verb or after a preposition. And I is always a subject.
Okay, teacher. Okay, then
We always, by the way, we always capitalize I. Down. Okay, so go ahead again. You said there's 2 subjects or just 1?
just one.
That's correct.
And I think
Okay.
this sentence is a simple sentence.
That's correct. So this sentence has, how many verbs does it have? How many conjugated verbs?
The first one is gave,
Okay.
and the other one is exercise.
Notice before exercise we have two exercise, right? So that cannot be a conjugated verb.
Yeah, exactly. because it's
That to exercise infinitive. We can't-
infinitive, right?
Okay. What about so gave is a verb that's in the past. Do we have another verb that's in the past? Lucia.
Encourage,
Encourage. Encourage. So good. If you look up at the whiteboard here, we've got simple sentence. Why? Because all the subjects are on the left and all the verbs are on the right. And it has one subject and it has two conjugated verbs. Gave is the verb, encouraged is the verb.
Okay.
So if I were you, I would write S for subject, V for verb. Subject, brother, verb, gave, verb, encouraged.
Okay.
Okay, good job. Good job, Lucy. Does anybody have questions about this one? Anybody confused or?
No for me, teacher.
Okay, good, guys. Let's go to number 2. And Carolina, can you help us with number 2?
Yes, teacher. The subject is I and verb is where on the first side.
Where, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so do we have any more subject verb pairs?
Yes. I think it's tracks, verb.
Yep, tracks is a verb. But where's the subject? Do we have a second subject?
No, teacher.
Okay, so you're saying we have one subject, two verbs, right? So that would create a simple sentence, just like number 1. Did you put two?
No, I put the compound because the
but
and
but it means it has subject, verb, and then another subject with verb.
maybe it's
It. Yes, that's correct. Subject. So number 2, you got it right, Carolina. Number 2, we have I as a subject, where is the verb, and then we also have it is a subject, tracks is a verb.
Yeah.
So that's 2 pairs. And then we have comma with and in the middle. That's a compound sentence. So number 2. Okay, good job, Carolina. If anybody has questions, just ask. Now's the time to ask. You guys have a quiz coming up on Friday, so I want to make sure you are able to find these and do these correctly. All right, let's do one more together, and then I'll go a little bit faster through these. Does anybody want to try number 3? You can raise your hand if you want to try number 3. Oh, good. We got 2 people. It's okay. Gerardo, you can do 3, and then Sammy, you can do 4. Okay, so Gerardo, what did you put for number 3?
Okay. The device syncs to an app on my smartphone, so I can easily see my progress. I put a compound sentence.
That's correct.
So the subject is a device, the verb is sync, and after comma is so, and I is the subject, and can is the verb, I think so.
Yeah, can.
Can see.
Right. This is a compound verb because we have two words in one verb. Can see is the verb. Yes, good job with that. Wow, I'm impressed. So this is number 3 is compound. It's got two subject verb pairs. And we need to underline so because so is the fanboys. Okay, good job. Do you want to do number 4, please?
Yes. I like my Fitbit, but my smartphone also has a fitness tracker.
Okay.
I think I like
Yes.
is a fanboy. Is subject and has is a verb.
Yes, good. So is this simple or compound?
Is compound.
That's correct. Good job. Good job. Yes. Two different subject verb pairs. So again, I wrote the structure up here for number 4. It's SV, SV. We have comma with but, comma but in the middle. That creates a compound sentence. Okay, we're doing good so far, guys. I'll go ahead and go a little faster through the rest of these. Number 5 is compound. Number 6 is simple. Number 7 is compound. And number 8 is simple. Okay, if you got any of these wrong, I want you to go back and look for your subjects and verbs. And then let me know if you have a question. You can turn on your microphone if you want to ask a question about practice 1.
No, teacher.
Okay.
No, teacher.
Okay, everybody's good? No questions. Okay. All right. Well, that was your homework. And today we're going to continue looking at compound sentences, and we're going to start looking at the meaning difference between all of our fanboys. So look at the bottom of page 226. Let's start with this. The meanings of coordinating conjunctions. Next to that, where you see coordinating conjunctions, I want you to write fanboys. Do you guys remember that term I used, fanboys? Why do I call them fanboys? Can anybody tell me why I call them fanboys?
Yes, teacher.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because it's a for and nor, but, or, so, and yet.
That's correct. For
And
and nor, yet so. So you need to memorize those. Yeah, and go ahead. You have something else?
well, and those words connect two sentences.
Okay. Yes, they're used to connect or combine two sentences. Okay, so take a look at the meaning for those. And is to join two ideas, but is to contrast or show differences. We focused on those last week, those two. But let's look at these other ones. Some of these we don't really use that often. Look at for. It indicates a reason. Class, most of the time we do not use for. Most of the time we choose to use the word because. Okay. So the meaning of for is kind of like because. So let me show you in the sentence on the right side in the box. It says, she studied nursing, for she felt it was a divine calling. So we could say she studied nursing because she felt it was a divine calling. Divine means like from God or from something spiritual. Okay, so we could use the word because in this sentence, but we would have to take out the comma. Okay, because is not a fanboys. So the structure would be different, but the meaning would be the same, for and because. Okay, and like I said, it sounds a little bit strange to use for. It's very rare for us to do that. Okay, let's go to nor. Nor indicates a negative idea. So look at the example on the right. She did not want to marry, nor did she want a family. So we have two negative things, two negative verbs. She did not want to marry. She did not want a family. Okay, we're using nor to show two negatives. Now, what do you notice about this one, though? This one is kind of different. It says, nor did she want. Does that look strange to anybody?
Could you repeat the question, please?
What is strange or different about using nor? Look at after nor, it says, did she want? Does that look strange to you? Nor did she. Why does it say nor did she?
I think it's saying no because she don't want family too.
That's correct. Yeah. It's nor means. But do you notice how in this one we have did she want? It sounds like a question.
Oh,
It looks like a question. Did she want?
yes.
And this is something strange about using the word nor. So look at my whiteboard screen, okay? Nor equals two negative verbs. So we're using two negatives in this sentence. And we're going to use question word order after nor. So it looks like a question because it says want. That looks like a question. Okay, let's look at another example I have here on this. I won't eat lunch, or I'm sorry, I won't eat a sandwich for lunch. Okay, this one's got a negative verb, won't, right? Nor will I eat salad. This is also negative. The will, nor will, that means won't, okay? But notice it's in a question word order. It says will, and then I, and then eat. So what we're doing is we put the auxiliary before the subject. Will I eat? It's just like in your book, it says, did she want? Okay? Now, again, this is kind of confusing, but we rarely use these. We rarely use nor, and we rarely use for. They're not very common. Okay, let's keep going. We've got or is to show choice. So shows cause and effect. So look at so. Nightingale was wealthy, so she didn't need payment for her work. So we're giving an effect. The cause is the wealth. The effect is didn't need payment. She didn't need money. Okay. And then yet is to introduce a surprising idea or surprise contrast. Yet and but are very similar. Look at the last sentence there at the bottom. She saw the horrors of war, yet she continued to help the sick. You can also say she saw the horrors of war, but she continued to help the sick. Okay, so yet is a lot like but we usually use yet for surprise, like unexpected. Something that was a surprise or something that's unexpected. So let me give you an example. For my test. Yet, what would be a surprise second part of this sentence? Anybody have an idea? I studied a lot for my test, yet
I didn't take a high score.
yeah, I didn't. Yeah, go ahead, Lucia.
Yet I approve the quiz or the test.
I approve. You said I approve?
Yes, teacher.
Are you saying the word approve like this word approve?
No, I'm sorry. I want to say that I get a good score.
Oh, you got a good score.
Yeah.
No, we can't use it for you got a good score. Because if you do that, then that would be expected. That would be something normal. I study and I got a good score. Then we would want to use and. Okay, so let me write it on the board here. So, Lucia, look at this sentence. I studied a lot for my test and I got a good score. This is when we're going to use and because we're just adding more information, and this is expected. This is normal. You study and you pass, right? But the one with yet is surprise, unexpected. So I studied a lot for my test, yet I didn't get a high score. I didn't pass. This is like unexpected. Okay, Lucia, do you understand that?
My understanding is when we use yet, on the other side of the sentence, it's like the opposite of the first part.
Yeah, it has to be something that's contrast or something that you would not expect. It's not normal.
Okay.
So it's kind of like if I got a person here and I'm like, what? It's like surprise. So you got to think of something that's surprising, something that's not, that doesn't usually happen. Yes. And it's also showing contrast. Studied a lot, that's good. Didn't get a high score. Uh-oh, that's bad. So we have what's called contrast as well here. Okay.
Okay, teacher, thank you.
Okay, so what we're going to do is do a couple of examples in practice 2. We'll do a couple of examples together, and then in a moment, you guys are going to practice writing sentences to share with the class.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go to practice 2 together. And I want you guys to do number 1, 2, number 1 and 2, and 3. Let's do 1, 2, and 3 together. Okay, I'll give you a couple minutes. You're going to write the comma and the fanboys. So number 1, 2, and 3, go ahead and just write in your book 1, 2, and 3 on practice 2, page 227. You got to pick the correct fanboys to use, okay? I'll give you about 3 minutes.
Teacher, I did practice 2 as homework too.
Okay. Okay, good. Then just wait a moment and I'll give you the answers, okay?
Okay.
Okay, let's see what you guys got for number 1, 2, and 3. So, Lucia, can you help us with number 1?
Yes, teacher. Number 1. One day in 1985, Wilhelm Röntgen was bored, so he decided to work in his lab. I wrote so, this part.
Okay, good. Did you also put a comma?
Yeah, so and comma.
Okay, first put the comma and then put so. That's,
No.
yeah.
I wrote so, and then comma, he decided to work in his lab.
Okay, good. I'm glad you made that mistake because this is a very common mistake. A lot of people will put the comma after so, but look up here on the whiteboard. We need to make sure that the comma is before the coordinating conjunction, before the fanboys. And also, class, we want to have the comma really close to the word on the left, board, board. And so if I were to write this, if I was writing the sentence, I would put board and then the comma really close to that word and then a little space and then I write the word so. Okay, so what I noticed is some students were putting it like this. Okay, but we don't want to do that. So especially because this is an online class. This is an online class, so we need to be careful how we're typing. So we don't want to put the comma really close to so. We want to keep the comma close to that word that's on the left. So basically it's the word, comma, space, so. Or word, comma, space, and. Okay, or whatever the fanboys is. All right, good. Let's go to number 2. Sammy, what did you put for number 2?
He put his hand between a gas tube and a fluorescent screen
Oh, you put a comma after gas tube?
Yes.
No, we don't need a comma there because we have, he put his hands between two things, the tube and the fluorescent screen. So what we're doing is we are adding these two nouns together, the tube and the screen. There's no comma there because we haven't started another subject and verb yet. Okay? The subject is actually he and didn't tell. So after lab, after the word lab, that's where we put, oh, I'm sorry. I was doing 3. For number 2, the subject is he and saw. He and saw. So we need to put the comma after screen.
Yes.
The word and. So we're only putting things in the, okay, Sammy? We're only adding something in the blank, the line. Do you understand?
No.
Let me put number 2. Fluorescent, right? Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, so Sammy, look at number 2. He put his hand between a gas tube and a fluorescent screen, right? So what we have is subject he, verb put. Okay, this does not mean we're starting a new subject. No. The screen is not the subject. So the reason why we have the and is because we're combining two nouns. We're just putting two nouns together. And we have to use the word and in order to do that. It's just like my sister and I, right? I don't need a comma after sister because I'm just putting two nouns together. But after screen, we do need a comma. Why? Why do we need a comma? Well, we're going to add the word and. Okay, it's really bad letters there, but after and, we're going to have he. We're going to have he and saw, right? And he, my subject, and saw is my verb. So that's the reason we're putting the and right here, the comma with the and. Because what we have is a complete, what we call a independent idea or clause here. He put his hand between a gas tube and a fluorescent screen. All of this is what we call independent clause together. We can't separate this with a comma. But the second part of the sentence, he saw the bones of his hand. That's also a complete subject-verb pair and all of the words it needs. And so we're going to put and in the middle, comma and in between the two complete sides. Okay, Sammy, do you understand now?
Yes, teacher. Thank you.
And number 3, we're going to use comma with but in the blanks, in the line, okay? And we've got subject and verb, he brought. And then we have another subject verb, he didn't tell. And the reason we're using but is because this is a contrast of ideas. He brought, that's positive. that he didn't tell her, that's a negative, and so we're using but to contrast. Okay. Let me show you another example. Look at number 8. Number 8 is going to be comma with 4. I'll just give you guys the answers to these, okay? Comma with 4, because I want you to see that it means because in number 8. Did anybody do any of the other ones? 4, 5, 6?
Not yet, teacher.
Okay, well,
Me, teacher. Number 4.
okay, to save time, I'm going to put the answers here so you'll have them, but you can do these at home and go back and check. But 4 is and, 5 or, 6 and, 7 so, and 8 is for. So I'm recording this so it will give you all of the answers here in video, okay? I want to do some practice before we go today. I want to make sure that you know how to write these correctly. So we're going to do a little challenge today, and I'm going to put you in groups. So in Blackboard Collaborate, I have the ability to put you guys into groups. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let me delete some of this stuff. Let's see how many people we've got. 5 people. Okay, so we can do 2 groups. That's perfect. So group 1, you guys are going to do, you're going to make a simple sentence with this structure. You're going to do S and then 2 conjugated verbs. So you're going to make your own sentence to share with the class that has to have a subject and 2 conjugated verbs. And I'll give you guys about, in just a moment, I'll put you in your group, and then you will have 5 minutes to talk with your partners and to write down a sentence, and then you're going to come and put it on the whiteboard to share with the rest of the class. Okay, so if you're in group 1, then you need to make a simple sentence: subject, verb, verb. And if you're in group 2, you're going to make a compound sentence that has these conjugated verbs.
Teacher, is the practice 3? I'm sorry.
No, we're not doing practice 3. We're not using your book. We're not doing your book. So I'm going to put you in a group, Lucia, and with another classmate in just a moment, and you will have a chance to talk to that classmate, and together you're going to work on writing your own sentence to share with the class. Okay? So we're going to do 2 different groups of students. If you're in group 1, you're going to make a simple sentence with this structure: subject, verb, verb. And you'll have 5 minutes with partner. You guys together, you make one sentence, and then you'll share it with the rest of the class. Okay? In group 2, you're going to make a compound sentence, and you have to use the verbs am going and are watching. Okay, so let me tell you which groups you're in, okay? Let's see. Oh no. I put I didn't mean to do that.